The replacement for Boris Johnson is very clear, and it is evidently a two-horse race. That, of course, between Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak. And of course, I've said before, unless anything significantly happens in like the next 6 months between whenever the next leadership bid for the Conservative Party is, unless one of these two really mucks up, like I mean really mucks up seriously, badly, I mean epically, then they can kiss that leadership goodbye. And Liz Truss is clearly the favourite. She's the favourite by a country mile. Not only is she the most popular member of the Conservative Party from the non-parliamentary side, but she's also the most popular member in the parliamentary side as well, giving her two massive advantages over Rishi Sunak. And indeed, in popularity polls, she always comes out head and shoulders above the rest of the Conservatives, even against Boris Johnson back when he was in his prime, even at the 2019 general election. Again, it's just quite shocking, really, how popular she is, because a lot of people don't realize how popular she is. But Liz Truss has now been handed the poison chalice. Of course, that trying to essentially solve the most thorniest of issues, that, of course, the Northern Ireland border issue. Because as we've said before, you cannot have a land border on the island of Ireland. There is no sci-fi, high-tech, sci-fi fantasy solution to solve this, despite the Brexiteers saying that there is. They've never said or pointed to one that there is. You would have to have hard infrastructure on that border. The Good Friday Agreement says that there cannot be. So the only place you can have that border is then in the Irish Sea, which is where we are today. And still, the Brexiteers seem to do not understand that at all. But Liz Truss is now setting up to the mark, and this will either make or break Liz Truss's leadership run. So let's find out how she's going to maybe even survive this, if at all, because she is indeed the next sacrifice to the wicker man, or to the Brexit man, shall we say, in this case. So, as always, thank you for those very much for watching the channel, but please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do support the channel that way, as well as the YouTube memberships that are down below as well. So let's dive into this then, shall we? So, this comes from The Guardian with the title of Step Forward Liz Truss, the willing wicker woman for the Brexit bonfire. In The Wicker Man, the key to the sacrifices, the efficacy, is Sergeant Howley, who embraces the victimhood willingly. And so Liz Truss climbs into a very photo-op tank and trudges gladly towards the burning wicker effigy for the role of chief negotiator for exiting the European Union for Brexit, formerly Secretary of State for exiting the European Union. And the poisonous post-claimant's another scalp, the greater love hath no man. Lord Frost understood. He really did. That his exit secretary job, because he had no longer agreed with Boris Johnson's general direction of travel, namely lurching from one leaked honeypot to another like a paprika bear. Or did the Lord Exeter really realize that he could not exit the European Union in a fashion that would garnish the square head of all those coveted laurels? And so, unzipping the tent flap and howling into the Arctic gale of public opinion, Lord Frost declared, "I'm going to the pub with the Brexit hardman Steve Baker's European Research Group. I may be some time, masks optional, of course." And of course, the very artfully cantilevered Good Friday pivot, with much discreet emulated the island of Ireland back in 1998. The fractures and fuments, the very furious fishermen and the farmers fumate furiously into the foam and fertilizer, respectively. Our biggest creative talents lower their life expectations accordingly as earnings, market access, postal rates, touring options, and cross-border collaborations collapse, despite Michael Gove's claims to better EU environment of post-rules post-Brexit. One might say we are now more swimming in human sewage. Once more, we are known as the dirty man of Europe. at least until Allegra Stratton's revelations about Boris Johnson's love life surface, and a scheme to lure Nobel laureates to work with a buccaneering Brexit Britain attracted precisely no takers worldwide, making us the intellectual destination equivalent of the Eddie Murphy's 2002 box office bomb, The Adventures of Pluto Nash. Was Boris Johnson's finally all too obvious incompetence, dishonesty, and lack of a coherent plan beyond what might get him either elected or quite finally finished off? Merely a handful of useful fig leaves to try and cover the exiters' exit from the unwinnable forever war against the phantoms of Europe. The lie unfurled the promises of the Brexit campaign can never be delivered. It is a package like the grateful vinyl copy of the Hawkwind Space Ritual I ordered from a previous reliable French dealer via discos.com that appears undeliverable in the post-Brexit world, just as Brexit did, however, deliver the most right-leaning government in living memory. What was the idea all along? Slaps head, falls over, cries. The faithful Leave voting red wall constituencies pinning their hopes for levelling up and, of course, the Brexit dividend will be delighted that Lord Frost's exiteer replacement, Liz Truss, voted to remain in 2016 and, of course, was the co-author of the 2012 Tory manifesto in waiting, Britannia Unchained. And Britannia Unchained opined that the British are indeed among the worst idlers in the world. Whereas Indian children aspire to be doctors or businessmen, the British are more interested in football and pop music. And of course, what is a Beatle, Liz? And why have all the footballers got long hair now, like girls? For your information, trust both British footballers and British pop music have been massive engines for your vaunted social mobility. And of course, the key elements of the social soft diplomacy that briefly made Britain the much less universally unhated around the world. A Kurdish nomad on the Syrian border back in 1988 bonded with me over his tape of the Sheffield Death Leopard. With all due respect, the goat-herding tent dweller had nothing to say about the quality of the British businessman. And of course, there's the generation of British school children that take their moral inspiration from Marcus Rashford, not from the vegetable magnate Andrew Brigden, the igma humus of the Brexit hardman Steve Baker, who now delighted in his master's performance of the online demonstration of the snowflake Nadine Dorris this week. Go on, Steve. Bloody Nadine with her confusing shiny hair. Get her. Oh, I've made a mess. Believe it or not, the kids aren't doing colleges or even Brigden's sticking Leicestershire valuable disruption hubs, or even Boris Johnson's lockdown cheese and wine work non-party. They're making murals of Marcus Rushford. To be fair, Truss didn't write Britannia Unchained alone. Her co-authors were, of course, thinking woman's thug, Kersey Quitang, Boris Johnson's brutish golem enforcer, who spent a November press round trying to bully Parliamentary Standards Commissioner Catherine Stone into resigning, unaware that the focus of a polling at the CHQ had already decided to ditch Owen Paterson, leaving Quitang looking like a very gormless, obedient, slap-on tool, both factually and loyalty. In fact, unlooped, Dominic Raab, who had lasted 4 months at Truss's Exeter predecessor, having revealed that he didn't know where Calais was, defended the Tories' falsely online independent fact-checking service during the 2019 election, and floated on about a paddleboard during the rout of Kabul, like the devil-made flesh by Sylvia Parnini, a Louis Blumenfeld film. Priti Patel, who was bailed out personally by Boris Johnson when she breached the ministerial code for bullying and threats of regulations against drowning, dying children. Darth Vader pointed to the Death Star at Alderaan, and Chris Sigmore, the MP for Kingswood, only knows all that because of a very coveted 2019 investigation into the Westminster Laundry Service by Vice magazine found that Skidmore had more skids in his pants than any other politician, and normatively determined quite quick that Andrew Brigden secretly envied. Everything else that is unlawful about the modern Conservative Party is embodied by Liz Truss collaborators in Britannia Unchained, which should make her the perfect fit for this wicker woman's framing frame. Britannia ashamedly requires a sacrifice, and so far the role of chief negotiator for exiting the European Union has claimed 5 victims. 6, if you remember that David Davis did it twice, having forgotten that he'd already done it all wrong once and achieved nothing. Another now body now goes up in flames. The carcasses shunted off to another cabinet position. The peasants dance and sing and wait out the winter. So this is the situation that we are now in. Liz Truss is not going to do any better job than than Frosty did. He became known as Frosty the No Man. That became his moniker because he refused any compromises or any such thing. So there was no point in negotiating because he just went, I want to get rid of the ECJ, whatnot. And of course, what probably led up to his resignation was the fact that the government dropped that. And then he then left, citing that he didn't like the government's direction of travel. Again, all around Brexit. Again, as much as they want to say it was about the coronavirus restrictions, it was all about Brexit. And Liz Truss has now picked up that baton again of trying to get the European Union to drop the European Court of Justice from the deal. That ain't going to happen. Frost has been trying that for almost 6 months to no avail. What on earth is Liz Truss going to do or say differently than Lord Frost? And essentially, we now have yet another person ready to be drinking from that poison chalice, something that is indeed probably going to hurt her very much vaunted run at the Conservative leadership. If she can't do this, this will damage her chances massively. And we'll see how this all unfolds in the coming months. But again, the first round of talks are coming up in January, and those probably are not going to go anywhere. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you all next time. But please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below, there is my Patreon page, the YouTube subscriptions, and of course, the one-off donation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.